Greetings everybody, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles. For a change of pace today, I'm doing it from my stoep, porch if you like. Here in Cape Town today, it's a beautiful day, the sun's out, it's a beautiful autumn's day. It's getting colder in the mornings and in the evenings. In fact, we had a bit of a storm here the last few days. Did quite a bit of damage around the Cape Town and the Winelands area, but it's calmed down thankfully today, so I thought, what the hell, I'll do it from the stoep outside. You might be able to hear the birds tweeting and whatever. So we're going to carry on looking at our top trios, my top trios of artists, and today we're going to check out an artist who sadly only ever did 3 studio albums and then he was gone all too quickly. Talking about Jimi Hendrix, and in particular the Jimi Hendrix Experience. That was the name of his band, the 3 albums we're going to have a look at. And the one coming in at number 3 is an iconic album, so it doesn't mean that my number 3 is a bad album in any way. It's just the way I've ranked them. And my number 1 is the one that resonates the most with me. So coming in at number 3, without more ado, is Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? If you can see that there, there's too much glare here today. You can check that out. There is Jimmy in the middle. There's old Mitch Mitchell, the drummer, and there's Noel Redding, the bass player, who in fact didn't play bass in the beginning. He was a guitarist, so he pretty much had to learn from scratch. So this came out in 1967, and there's some incredible tracks on here. I just want to see if there's anything. This is the remastered, released by the Hendrix family, 6 bonus tracks. Sound is amazing. It's the inside disc. There they are again in all their 60s garb. And let me see what else I can show you. There's quite a few photographs and stuff inside. There's old Jimmy with the big hair. Very much of the time, I guess. Tells you all about the album. There he is with his Strat. Iconic Strat. There's another nice shot. And yeah, there's quite a few shots in here. It tells you all about the album, etc. So, what are the tracks on here? Well, this is one of the best debuts of all time. And when this came out, it blew people's minds. I mean, the guitar was around for a long time already, but this guy just took it to a different level. And, I mean, around this time, 67, Clapton was getting started, and Jeff Beck and all the other greats. This guy was just something different. Not only could he play like something from outer space, his stage presence was what made him so different. So, the tracks on here, Foxy Lady. That's a great track. Sort of an album, I think. Manic Depression is the second track. And some of the sounds he was getting out, like I said, this was just a mind-blowing album for many people. Red House, that great blues number, which of course will be covered by many people afterwards. Can You See Me, Love or Confusion, I Don't Live Today, quite a prophetic song that, seeing as he didn't live very long, died at the tender age of 27, of course. May This Be Love, Fire, that's a great track with some, Mitch Mitchell, the drummer, very much a jazz influenced drummer, lots of little fills and things. And for all of him not being a bass player, Noel Redding holds it down really well here. Then you get the sort of freaky song on the album, Third Stone from the Sun, and then it finishes with Remember. And then these 6 bonus tracks in here, Are You Experienced, Hey Joe, of course that was his first single to be released, massive hit for him. Stone Free, Purple Haze, my favorite from this era of Jimi Hendrix. In fact, I was in a small garage band many years ago, and we covered that track. Ours was just slightly heavier. Excellent track, one you can really go to town on the guitar with. 51st Anniversary, The Wind Cries Mary, that beautiful slow track from Jimmy. Great lyrics. He was always a bit unsure about his vocals, but for me, his voice was perfect. And then Highway Child is the last of the bonus tracks. This is on the MCA label, released, as I said, by the Hendrix family. Remastered, the whole 9 yards. So that's my number 3. Are You Experienced? Iconic debut album. You gotta have it. Coming in at number 2 is his second album, Axis Bold as Love. Now with this album he started to get a little bit more freaky. Produced with Eddie Kramer, South African Eddie Kramer, behind the knobs and what have you. And he was getting a little bit more fussy. He'd get even worse with the third album. Spending hours in the studio, every little thing he would, he was like a perfectionist. And let me see if there's There's a really cool picture of that sort of Indian motif. Just love that cover. Classic cover. There he is with his Strat. Oh, I love Hendrix. Can't get enough of the man. And you know, there have been so many releases since he passed away. Some authorized, some not authorized. It just goes on almost into the hundreds. There he is doing his thing. That's what I'm talking about. A showman. Brilliant player, but boy, he could move around on stage. And he had his own vibe going. Here he is with one of his own sort of, looks like a customized Strat there. A few designs on it. There he is. With the amps already punctured from where he's shoved the guitar through. As he did. And there's just the lyrics. And yeah. So what do we have on here? EXP, which is kind of like a sort of a weird sort of beginning to an album, sort of like a space thing, speeded up voices and what have you. It's quite funny, I suppose. Bit of a throwaway thing. And that goes up into Up From The Skies, Spanish Castle Magic, which is my favorite track on here. Often play that track. Wait Until Tomorrow, Ain't No Telling, Little Wing, beautiful track. Another, you know, Jimi did these slower sort of ballady type tracks. Just so much feeling in the guitar as well. If 6 was 9, there's a freaky track for you. He always incorporated one or two of these sort of out there tracks. Very much of its time, I guess. Excuse the noise of the cars and what have you. We are on the stop here, like I mentioned. Now, what is the one line in If 6 was 9? If all the hippies cut off their hair, I don't mind, or I don't care, or something like that. You Got Me Floating, Castles Made of Sand, She's So Fine, which I think is sung by Noel Redding. I think he sings on this album and on the next one. One Rainy Wish, Little Miss Lover, which is a really cool vibe to it, and Bold as Love. It's kind of like the title track. So let's see if there's anything else I can show you. I think that's about it, really. So that's my number 2, Axis Bold as Love by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So quite obviously we get to my number 1, and that's his number 3. The album that he took forever to do, Electric Ladyland. I mean, he built a studio called Electric Ladyland, and that took a good couple of years, or a year or so, I think. And he spent a lot of time on this album, to the point that Noel Redding and the rest of the guys in the band were getting so hutful, that's Afrikaans word for sick and tired of him, changing things and going over, every little detail. He was very particular, and I think that drove the other guys to destruction. So this isn't, this is the second cover, the original cover, which I'm just going to show you very quickly because it's a bit of a dodgy cover, and I've got it on vinyl still. So this is the original cover, which Jimi didn't sanction. He wasn't very happy with this. Some very dodgy looking woman on this cover. Yeah, anyway, I'll just show you. Quick look, there we go. Yeah, so I don't want to get too much into that. So that's the inside of the original vinyl. There's Jimi, and there's the other two guys, Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding. Of course, Jimi being the star, he's got the biggest picture. And yeah, so this is the reissued cover. See if there's anything else I can show you. There's Jimi. I think this is with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell in a park somewhere with a whole bunch of kids. And there's Jimi over there, looking a little bit worse for wear. Of course, the drugs were starting to kick in around this time. Some of his original lyrics that he was writing. Great songwriter, as well as being an incredible guitarist. Eddie Kramer as well, of course, very much involved with this album. There's another shot with him and the kids. Just want to see if there's anything. Oh, there he is, really getting into it in the studio. Cigarette dangling out of the mouth. So what do we have on here as far as tracks go? Well, this album just took him up to another level, few levels in fact. There's a couple of cool tracks of the band as well. One live at the top there, and the rest of the guys. And there were a bunch of guests on this album as well. One of them was Jack Cassidy on bass from Jefferson Aeroplane, also around that time, late 60s. Steve Winwood from Traffic, he's also appears on here. And yeah, and the tracks are just... This is quite a long album, and it's one of those albums where the tracks kind of flow into each other and tells you a story almost. It's perfect. And The Gods Made Love, that's the first track. Have you ever been to Electric Ladyland? Sort of a mellow track. Crosstown Traffic. Crosstown Traffic, got to say that very carefully. That's also quite a cool upbeat track. Voodoo Child, Guitar Deluxe. I mean, how many people haven't covered Voodoo Child? A Little Miss Strange, that's also got Noel Redding, I think, on vocals. Long Hot Summer Night, Come On, Let the Good Times Roll, which has got a sort of a rock and roll vibe to it. Gypsy Eyes, Burning of the Midnight Lamp with some really cool wah-wah guitar. He was a master of the wah-wah, Jimi Hendrix. Cool sounds to that. Rainy Day, Dream Away, it's just kind of like a, as it says, kind of a dreamy track. 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. That's the freaky one on here. You know, that you sort of listen to with headphones on and it just takes you away. Amazing stuff. A lot, you know, this album was so ahead of its time. I mean, this is like, what, 68? Somewhere around there, 68, 69. It was just, yeah, nobody was doing stuff like this. Moon Turn the Tides, Gently, Gently, Still Raining, Still Dreaming, House Burning Down, All Along the Watchtower, his amazing cover of the Dylan track. I'm not a Dylan fan. I love his version of that track. I think it's Dylan's voice that puts me off. But Jimi on here is amazing with that track. And then Voodoo Child, Slight Return, which is also brilliant. So you get Voodoo Child in the first, this was a double album originally. Am I right in saying that? Or was it a single? No, it's a double. And then Voodoo Child was a Slight Return. I'm just trying to think. This was a double, yes. That's quite correct. One with the dodgy cover. I didn't want to show it too quickly because you never know on YouTube and other, you know, I don't want to pick up flack for showing, yes, well, less said about that, the better. So there we go. That's my number one. Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. Can't go wrong with this, folks. In fact, you can't go wrong with any Jimi Hendrix, especially the 3 studio albums that he made. Like I said, there have been numerous live albums over the years released by the family, some not authorized, of course, people trying to cash in, make a bit of money. You know, when an iconic artist like that dies, there's always the vultures circling. They want to make a few bucks. But there is some really good stuff out there, and since he's dead, there has been some decent stuff being released. In fact, there's almost, I think every year there's been something released by the family, which is worth getting. And it just shows you how long this guy stayed in the studio. He looked like he recorded everything. And some quality is not that great, but I mean, it was the late 60s, early 70s. So there we go. My favorite solo artist of all time, Jimi Hendrix, guitar maestro, the man who changed things up radically. Next time around, we're going to go back to the bands, and we're going to have a look at another British band, Uriah Heep, and my top trio of that band. Please, guys, down below, any comments, good or bad, I don't mind. Let me know what your top 3 Jimi Hendrix are, or what order you have the top 3 studios, the 3 studios, I should say. He didn't make any more, sadly. And yeah, give me a thumbs up, any comments, please, and subscribe if you haven't. I think I'm going to have a spot of lunch and just chill out here on the stoop for the rest of the day. I'll catch you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.